minority and ethnic minority rights, through the US program that Cordell is very close to working on as well. So, Jonah, did you want to?
No, I think that's right. I think, we appreciate the ability to have the dialogue with you all. And as Jeremy said, the Asset Trust, which is a $36 billion institution and basically invests so we have the money so we can save lives, so we can provide vaccines around the world, so we can do, as Cordell does, invest in schools in the U.S. so we can make sure that there are scholarships, and that we do a lot of work here in Seattle. That's the side that we're on. So as far as investment for us, that's what investment means to us. Investment means more vaccines. Investment means better schools. That's what investments mean to us. But we definitely want to have an opportunity to hear from you all.
So I just want to start off by, my name is Ismael. I'm with the Comité. And, part of the thing that really concerns us is the fact that the investment that you make in the GEO Group allows the GEO Group to also go to Washington and also help create laws. They have in their contract to have a certain percentage of beds filled at all times. So these investments allow them the opportunity to create, to help create laws and help influence immigration reform to get more people incarcerated. And the fact is the detention center is a for-profit. It's not anything that has to do with helping the community, giving people access to technology, education, or vaccines. This is an organization that their main objective is to make money.
Sure.
And they make money by locking up people of color, locking up immigrants, locking up the most vulnerable people in the society.
Maybe we should have Jose, who was just recently released from the detention center and was there for 5 months to share.
No solo eso,
And not only that,
tienen un programa que es voluntary worker,
they also have a program that is supposed to be voluntary work,
donde nos hacen trabajar por más de 5 horas por $1 al día.
in which they make us work 5 hours a day, maybe for $1 a payment a day.
Y hasta eso no entendemos hasta ahorita por qué si aquí el estado de Washington es uno con el minimum wage más alto.
And we don't understand how that concept works when this state has one of the highest minimum wage in the country.
Esa fue una de las demandas que nosotros hicimos.
That's one of the demands that we proposed.
Que ya estamos cansados que se quieran hacer dinero con el dolor de nosotros.
And we're tired of them profiting based on our suffering.
Entendemos que GEO como corporación privada,
And we understand that GEO is a private corporation.
el objetivo es hacer dinero a costa de lo que sea.
Their objective is to make money no matter what.
So, I'm sorry. Continue.
Y no obstante, se nos han reducido las porciones de la comida.
And even nonetheless, with all that profit, our food has been reduced.
Los altos precios de la comisaria y las llamadas telefónicas.
There's high prices in the commissary and for communications through phones.
Y yo les aseguro que mucha gente de la que trabaja ahí por $1 al día es gente que apenas viene llegando y no tiene familia a quien le deposite dinero.
And I can tell you that a lot of the people that are detained there are newly arrived. They don't have family here.
Entonces básicamente lo que hacen es pushando a la gente a que tome esos trabajos
And so
obligadamente.
basically what they do is force people to take those
Porque
jobs.
siempre hay hambre, entonces es la única manera de sobrevivir allá adentro.
Because we're always hungry, and that's the only way to survive in there.
Okay. Well, I mean, Joni, you might have a distraction, and then look, I think the first thing we just want to say, and we'll say it again, what these stories that we're hearing, and you obviously know much more about these than we do, are terrible, and we in no way, sort of think that any of that is remotely acceptable. They're horrendous. It's deplorable. Those sort of practices and some of the things that we've read about that's been alleged. So you should know that we hear you, and we are we're completely supportive. I guess the question for us really is, okay, we hear that and we support you, but to what extent can we help, or to what extent can we support? And I think that's where we'd like to explain a bit about our position and what we where we think we are, because clearly you feel that we're in a position to make a huge difference here, and I'm not sure that we would agree with that. But let Jonah.
Yeah, and the one thing, especially about the lobbying budget of GEO, one of the things that I think we're very happy because of all of the work that we get to do here and all of the great work that we get to be part of. But one of the things is that Bill himself is probably the highest profile business leader who's come out forcefully in support of comprehensive immigration reform. He said over and over that the way that we treat undocumented people in this country is deplorable and it's awful. And that voice is incredibly powerful. It's powerful in Washington.
In Washington D.C.
and
here.
And that's something that for us is, you know,
and that's kind of the thing that we see is like contradictory, saying, you know, somebody out here, I'm saying that, you know, this is deplorable, that we need to stop, and then at the same time, you know, giving money to a organization whose job is to incarcerate, and not only that, to, you know, commit, you know, human rights violations, you know.
So I'd love Cordell just to talk a bit about some of the work we do, and we do support minors. But just, when you said sort of giving money, this is where I guess it gets difficult, because, you know, and we only know the same as, you know, because of the way that the structure works here, we read the same as you, that the asset trust has a $200 million odd shareholding in the company, roughly $2 million shareholding in the company. You know, which and you know, obviously you guys have got to be aware this is a $38 billion sort of thing. So it's a, you know, in our terms, it's a tiny investment, and even in the company terms, it's a tiny shareholding in terms of that whole company as well.
But what a big statement would make to take it out.
So let me. I mean, Cordell,
Sure.
do you want to just give you?
I can just give you all a brief overview of some of the work that we do in U.S. programs. So it's about $600 million that we spend a year on K-12 through post-secondary. What we don't talk about a lot is some of the special initiative work we do around DREAM Act children. The scholarship programs that technically sit outside of U.S. programs, but it's $1 billion. There are 4 organizations that are part of it: United Negro College Fund, Hispanic Scholarship Fund, Native American Scholarship Fund, and Asian American Scholarship Fund, Asian American Pacific Islander Scholarship Fund. So when you look at the total under management in U.S. programs, it's about $4 billion. If you count the scholarships, it's another $5 billion. So I mean, it's a pretty significant investment in America's kids of color. Most of our work, from college ready to post-secondary, we're talking about people who look like you and I, okay? Right. About 90% of the kids that are impacted, kids and young adults, are people of color. So it's clear we're going after the achievement gap. The best way we know how, we see education as one way of equalizing the playing field. I know that was relevant in my life. I come from nothing, folks, okay? So it's possible through education to do some amazing things. And that's what we believe as an organization, and that's what we invest in.
And that is excellent, but the problem is that some of the people that you might actually just mention, like Latinos, might be the people that their parents are getting deported and detained in those places under horrible conditions.
One of the families that wanted to join this meeting, she lives in Auburn. And I'm very familiar with the work you guys do in South King County. And her children go to the schools where there's a lot of money from the Gates Foundation going in. Her father is sitting in the detention center right now. He started the hunger strike along with Jose. And because he started and then continued, and he's one of the leaders, he was placed in solitary confinement. That means 23 hours sitting in a cell by himself. He's not able to call his family. The only time they were able to go visit, they brought him in with chains from the hands to the waist to the feet, and guarded by 4 guards. So now you tell me, all those millions that you mentioned, how good are they if at the same time the few millions that you have, very, very small, still make a huge impact in their family? It's worse, but those few millions that the Gates is investing, that the hundreds of millions you might be investing in our own communities. So I think it's very simple. You could actually do something about it. And if it's minuscule for you, it's huge for us.
But so I think that what we're saying, and again, all of this, social justice has animated my career since the day I was able to work. It's all I've ever done. So I hear you, and it's heart-wrenching to hear that what happened to you and what's happening in your communities. But what we are saying is not, and we understand that $2 million. First of all, $2 million is a lot of money to anyone, to anyone here. It's a lot of money, but to GEO Group, it's not a lot of money. And so what I'd love to just get a feeling from you, so we're able to be educated on this, is where else are your energies directed? Like, what other investing groups? Who else are the ones who are really the behind this? Because from our perspective, what we know is that social justice is something that's incredibly important to us. As Cordell said, we do, that's what we're here for.
Sure. So I'm William Winters. I'm with Presente.org, and we're part of a coalition, divestment coalition with Enlace, that is going after a number of institutional investors, ranging from universities to investment, retirement funds, to try to get some of these entities to divest from the GEO Group. I think that one of, if your question is about theory of change, then I think that just like the rejection of the GEO Group in their attempt to name the stadium at Florida International University, I believe it was, just last year, there is the ability, the public repudiation of the GEO Group by the Gates Foundation to raise the profile of just how bad the GEO Group is, to elevate the stories of the people who are part of the people who've been hurt by not just the way GEO Group attempts to influence policy. I mean, that's like certainly one thing. I know that $2.2 million is a drop in the bucket for the GEO Group, and we may not change that. But being able to shine a spotlight on what they do has an incredible impact for the people who are represented here, and some of the more than 10,000 people who signed this petition on Presente. That is one of the main points, and I know that sometimes it might seem like especially in the world of online advocacy, where there's a feeling that there's some outrage chasing to a certain extent. There is I know that you guys were with respect to your involvement with ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and I think that divesting from the GEO Group has the same impact, has a similar impact as pulling back from ALEC.
So that's really important.
That's a really important distinction to make, because that's a great example. So ALEC was it's hard to explain. It was a program grant for within this building. So it was something that we did, and you're absolutely right. We had the ability and the power within this building to cut that funding, which is exactly what happened. This is a really different thing, because this is an investment from the asset trust, not from this foundation. So we can't do here what we did with ALEC. We don't have the power. Even the CEO here can't suddenly decide, we're not gonna do that, because it's made by a different body and a different organisation.
Sure, I understand that, and I think that we try to make the distinction in the letter that we sent, nearly a month ago. That we're asking the trust to do this and not the Gates Foundation. We understand as a group, who has the power to make the investment,
But do you think that everybody understands? I know you understand that distinction, and maybe you do in the room, but I don't think in what you're doing in this representation here, that actually the wider public would understand that. They just see here Bill Gates, and they're here supporting this this terrible thing, which we agree with you is deplorable. And I don't know if people have that sophistication to say, we understand that's not coming from within the foundation.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that. I completely understand that that's, especially your concern as someone who works in public relations for the foundation. I think that for us, what we're trying to do here is elevate a message. And, we sent a letter trying to get private action. We reached out a number of times afterward via email and also via telephone, and unfortunately we didn't get a response. We tried and we didn't get a response.
Well, I mean, we have engaged in conversations on this, and this is why we're having you here now. So I think that's it's important. I know that Jeremy's had a number of conversations. He's had a conversation with Color of Change and with
there's been a lot of different groups. So it's maybe that we've missed one or two as well, but we have been having lots of conversations with various people on
and yeah, that's why we're excited to be able to have this conversation now. I think as Jeremy said at the beginning, we will pass the petition on with the signatures on to the asset trust, and we certainly can keep keep in touch.
And this is really useful to be hearing, direct from you, because it enables us to pass that concern on as well, which obviously we will do.
And when do you think you can have an answer for us if they were received?
You should know that we don't. I mean, it's a one-way traffic. We can pass on and we can say, these guys have gathered here, and here's a petition, and here's what we're hearing. But there is no duty for the Asset Trust, because it's a separate organisation, to come back to us and explain themselves or give us an answer, or we can't set them a deadline. It's just not. That's not how that relationship works. So all we can promise you is that we will pass on, up, across that chain. We can't say we're going to have an answer or anything like that.
But we'll do that right away. I mean,
yeah,
we recognize the urgency of the petition, the fact that you all are calling attention to this now, and again, we totally respect your advocacy. I mean, on these issues. So we will take it and we'll give it to them right away.
The one thing I would say, just that obviously you have to work out, and you do work out the best way to advance what you want to achieve here, and which we identify with. But I would also just urge you to think, that in some way putting a man, who is probably, one of the biggest, most high-profile supporters of immigration, reform, at the centre of this, it is damaging in other ways as well. I mean, you've got a huge supporter there, and I know there is obviously really serious concern about this particular investment and that. But overall, and you've heard a bit of that from Cordell, this organisation is about social justice, and particularly about social justice for minorities, and continues to invest huge amounts of money in that. And there may be others who don't feel sort of do the same sort of work we do that are worth sort of thinking about as well. And I know you do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to say that if you read the letter, if you see like the email outreach that we sent to Presente members, and that Enlace sent to their members on behalf of Presente, we constantly refer to the fact that you guys do so much good in the world. And I think that some of the contradictions that Ismail and others pointed out makes it really hard to say, like you talked earlier about scale, and about the $2.2 million drop in the bucket to the GEO Group. But the $2.2 million means a lot, and and you can afford, I think, to be discerning to a certain extent with your investments.
Well, I mean, so we totally hear your concerns, and again, we'll pass them.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
And sorry for being so scrunched.
Let me just say that we're not putting Bill Gates at the center of this. We're putting the families at the center of this.
No, we appreciate that.